What's up, everybody? Alex here. I know it's been a while, but I'm back. We got a strong schedule for the next few weeks on new episodes. Life's been absolutely crazy. Let me catch you up on a couple of things. Been watching a lot of grappling tournaments, a lot of the IBJJF, a lot of the Gordon Ryan, absolutely crushing everybody. But most of all, I actually have been busting my ass, getting my company back up and running, just doing tons of work. I've been fortunate enough to be working with 𝗏𝗧𝘂𝘀𝘆 at 𝗏𝗃𝘁𝘂𝘆 Global. In case you haven't seen it, I am with a band now. I play bass for a band called Sons of a Tradesman. Check out the music. We're on Spotify. We're playing, and we're actually working on getting a tour together. So if you got any spots up the East Coast of the United States that you think you'd want to hear our band playing, hit me up. Let me know. We're down to go touring. Other than that, just been going nonstop, man. I actually took a shot to the dome training about a month ago. Got really bad vertigo, so I've been having to kind of take care of that. Still got a little bit, but we're going back to training this week, obviously trying to lift. And just overall, just nonstop, man. No sleeping. Just kind of keep on grinding. Life's been crazy, just like I'm sure it has for all of you. I hope everybody's doing great. Thank you to everyone who's been reaching out, asking what's going on with the podcast, when the next episode's coming on. Today's episode is actually someone that I've been wanting to get on the podcast for a while. I've known this guy for a couple of years. Been fortunate enough to been around him when he was still fighting for the UFC and training to do a bunch of other fights. This is Matt Van Buren, and this man is an OG to the fight game. If you guys don't know, he was part of the Ultimate Fighter season 19. He was on Team Frankie Edgar. Awesome dude. Really smart guy. Really down-to-earth kind of dude. But I want you guys to listen to this episode and really kind of take the time to dig in on some of the things that he has to say, because not only are we talking about, kind of pulling yourself out of a hole when you're depressed and trying to figure out what you want to do career-wise. Some of you might be fortunate enough that you never had to deal with that, but it doesn't have to deal with just with career, maybe with your goals, maybe with your jiu-jitsu, maybe with your fighting, whatever it is. I really, really think that you guys are going to get a lot out of this episode. I sure did. There's a lot of things that Matt talked about that I definitely related to. And there's a lot of things that kind of, I feel, for me anyway, definitely sparked a little bit something on how we can all improve as individuals to really get after it and get what we want. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy the episode. Check out Matt Van Buren. Make sure you follow all his social media. I'll put it out in the links below, and I'll catch you guys on the next episode. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I've wanted this guy on the podcast for a very long time. I've known him for a few years now. Probably was it from the 𝗏𝗀𝘂𝘀𝘆 days, like since 2016, where you were coming to train at 𝗏𝗀𝘂𝘀 Black Zillions?
Might have been, 16.
Yeah, it's been a while.
16, yeah.
Matt Van Buren, aka Gutter. Are you still using Gutter?
Hey, it just depends who you talk to, But no. Most of the time, no.
No, yeah, like it depends on how far the new clients ask about your career, huh?
Yeah.
How you been, man?
I've been doing well, man. Just same thing I've been doing, just grinding hard. It's just a different field now, a different arena.
Yeah, you're out in Texas now, right?
Correct. Yeah, I moved out to Dallas about a year and a half ago.
So right when kind of things started opening back up from the pandemic, you decided to go to Texas?
Yeah, so how I ended up in Texas, kind of like before let's see, when I started trying to get into life insurance, high commission sales, right? I was working in Florida, and Florida is a very tough market to sell life insurance. And the main reason, there's two reasons for that. One is because people are assholes, right?
That's true.
Straight
Very
up,
Florida.
like,
That's
yeah,
Florida.
yeah. You've got a lot of New Yorkers and like people from the Northeast, and they're rude. You know what I mean? They're not easy to deal with in a one-on-one, especially when you're trying to sell them something.
Yeah.
Even though they requested the information, which is that's a whole nother topic. It's kind of weird, you know.
Yeah.
People take the time to fill something out and mail it in, and then they get so bent out of shape when you actually contact them about it, even though they put their phone number down.
It's like, you wanted me to call you and you're being an asshole to me.
Like, bro, I didn't pull you out of the phone book. Like, what the fuck, you know? Like, so, and with life insurance, right, you got to be able to knock on the door is the main thing. So it doesn't matter what they tell you on the phone, because that's just sales resistance. You know what I mean? Like, people are always going to tell you no, even if they don't really mean no initially, for the most part, you know. It's like, you ever gone to the store, right, and you want to buy something, and like, let's say you were going to like Macy's or some shit, and you knew you were going to buy a shirt. Right. And then the guy in Macy's walks up to you and he's like, "Can I help you?" What do you tell him?
Like, no, I'm good.
You're like, "No, I'm good." But you know you're there to buy a shirt, and he could probably save you 5 or 10 minutes by showing you where the shirt is you're looking for. You know?
Right.
But you're like, "No, I'm good." It's natural sales resistance, right? So it doesn't matter what somebody says on the phone. You got to knock on the door and get a no to your face type of thing, especially when you're buying leads, you know? And so in Florida, you can't really do that because there's so many damn gated communities. Everything's a gated community, you know, even the lower income neighborhoods are gated. So like I was working when I first started, I was driving to Volusia County every week, which is where Daytona is.
Yeah.
I don't know. So like I would leave my house Sunday evening. I would check into the Airbnb Sunday night. I would work Monday through Friday all week, and then I would come back and for like Saturday and half a day Sunday, right? And I did that for a year straight when I first got in the business, because
but were you living like in Delray, like Boca area, or where?
I was living in Oakland Park. I owned a condo in Oakland Park.
Oh, that's right. So for people that don't know, that's well over 2 hours.
Three and a half hours. 3.5 hours one way.
Man.
So I did, like, that was the only place they had leads in Florida. And I was like, I need to make money because I'm not making money doing shit else, and I need some money. So I was like, I'll do whatever it takes. And so that's what I did, man. I put 80,000 miles on my car in 1 year and just fucking up there running. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I made a lot of money doing it. You know, it started panning out. And then so my parents and my older brother, they live in Georgetown, which is like right north of Austin, Texas, like 45 minutes north of Austin. So they're about, I think it's like 2.5 hours south of Dallas.
Right.
Right. So the company I was working with at the time, they had an office out here in Dallas, and in insurance, we have what's called blitz weeks, right? Like where you go out of town to a different state, like somewhere you don't normally live, and you buy a shit ton of leads, right? Like whatever normal amount of leads you normally work in a week, you buy double, and you work hard all week with no distractions and make a bunch of money, right?
Right.
So they're like, "Oh, we got some leads in Dallas." I was like, "All right, I'll go to Dallas and run some leads." But I came out here, and the guy who was like kind of one of my mentors at the time, he let me stay at his house with him for 3 weeks to run leads. And I made probably a little over $20,000 in 3 weeks. Yeah. And I was like, Dallas, Texas is the shit.
Like, this is where we're going. This is
I was like, this is where it's at. Like that Southern hospitality, you know what I mean? It was just night and day easier to sell out here compared to Florida, because people are just so nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just friendly people. And in comparison to most people in South Florida or Florida in general.
Yeah.
And so it was just much easier to transact business with them. And so once I came back from doing a 3-week bid in Dallas, I was like, I really don't have any reason to be in Florida now that I'm not fighting anymore. And I was like, my parents and my brother live in Texas. I haven't lived in the same state as my parents in shit like a decade, you know, since I've been running the fight thing hard. And So it's just kind of a no-brainer. It's cheaper cost of living too, you know. So I sold my condo in Florida and packed up, drove to Dallas, man, and came out here and started going to work.
That's cool, man. Oh, we're definitely gonna get more into that, like, because I definitely want to pick your brain and like the little bit that I've known you, like I've seen such a huge transition just from from afar of like back from going to the gym every day and watching you grinding and then trying to make money to like what you're doing now because you're doing so good. So there's definitely gonna be some stuff that I want to pick your brain on that there, but. As far as the selling part for the life insurance in Florida, is it because the people that are living here are already close to dying? It's a little too late to sell them life insurance.
Oh no, it has nothing to do with that at all. It's just as I said, the two biggest things are people are ruder, so they're
Yeah.
harder to deal with. But the main thing with Florida is the high influx of gated communities, right?
Right. Makes sense because you're locked out. You're
Yeah.
literally
And
locked out.
there's like a security guard at every one. You know what I'm saying? So like I would like come up with different, like some of them I could sneak in, you know, I'd find ways. Sometimes I park my car. I think I jumped the fence one time and like I'm getting to the door. I
Yeah.
paid $30 for this lead. I'm getting to the door. You know what I mean?
So you were literally going
But
door to door,
yeah. Well, so people fill out these leads, right? And
right?
they're cards about state regulated life insurance, and they fill it out. They put their name on it, their age, their address,
Mm-hmm.
their phone number, and they mail it in. So they go through a lot of effort to send them back. I mean, we call them first, right? Like I'll call them and book all the appointments that I can, get the low hanging fruit. But then pretty much anybody that tells you no or doesn't answer the phone, like I'm showing up at the house. You know what I mean?
Right. That makes sense. I mean, you got to follow up. Sometimes you have to do that follow up.
Yeah. And old people are stubborn. You know what I mean? They're like children.
Yeah.
They're stubborn and cranky, and like most of the time, no with them doesn't mean no. It's just they just bullshit a lot, you know. And
Yeah. It's
so
almost like they're
yeah,
trying to like irk you a little bit to like push the conversation because they want the conversation. They don't want to feel like they were just giving their money away. They want you to kind of like work for it.
it's weird. I to this day, bro, I'm still, and this is what my mentors taught me is like you can't understand the psychology of these people. Like you'll literally go insane trying to figure out why they do what they do or why they say what they say.
Yeah.
So you just can't even because there's no logic to it, right?
Yeah. No,
So
I mean, it makes
it's just
sense. No, it makes
it's
sense.
just
Like the funny part is like I just finished going through 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘃's book, Don't Split the Difference or Never Split the Difference. Have you read that?
haven't. No, I'll check
Dude,
it
yeah,
out though.
like you have to check it out. Like I'll send you like a copy of it because it's literally like what we're talking about right now. It's the same thing. It's the psychology about it because he talks about how he dealt with like crisis, like negotiations and stuff like that, hostage negotiations, and
Yeah.
like compares it to like everyday life and in sales and stuff like that. So I think you'll actually dig that. I'll have to get you the Audible
Yeah.
or something. It's pretty good. So let's go back because you've been at this as far as like the fight game. You were at this for like a long time. So a lot of guys aren't going to know like the original Ultimate Fighters. They're not going to know like all the crazy fights and stuff that you had or even some of the guys that you train with. So I really kind of want to go back because I feel that there's not enough information about you out there when it comes to your MMA career. I think that there's like a lot that people would really benefit from hearing. So for just kind of give me the rundown of, you know, your backstory. How did you start with MMA? How'd you get into it to begin with?
Um. So I originally got into MMA. I was born and raised in Southeast Virginia. I grew up in a town called Chesapeake, right on the border of Virginia Beach, and so a lot of guys I went to school with, high school with, like in high school, I messed around too much. You know what I mean? Played too many games, didn't do school, partying a lot, was involved with the wrong people. And so shortly after I graduated high school, I had a lot of friends getting in a lot of trouble, going to jail, just not the best influences on your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so We used to always do like backyard boxing and stuff in school, like have some street fights after school. So fighting was always something I wasn't foreign to. And I had a buddy at the time who was doing like Muay Thai kickboxing. And I was like, man, I gotta do something to stay out of trouble. You know what I mean? And I like to fight. So it just made sense, So I went to the gym where he was training at, started training, and I took my first amateur fight and I fought this guy. He was like a 43-year-old ex-Marine. And so it was actually like a WKA tournament in Richmond, Virginia. And so there was I was fighting a heavyweight. I fought my whole amateur career at heavyweight, by the way.
Wow.
A lot of people don't know that, but
yeah.
I had 11 amateur fights at heavyweight, and then I dropped to 205 when I had my pro debut. But so I was supposed to be in the novice division, which is if you have 3 amateur wins or less, you're in there. And then if you have more than that, you're in like the expert division, right? Well, nobody shows up for this tournament except me and another guy, and he was like 9-2. So they literally just matched us together like for the finals. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they just threw you right into the finals.
Yeah. It was like because we're the only heavyweights that showed up. A couple guys pulled out, and it's just how it ended up working out. So anyway, I ended up beating this guy in the finals. He was like 5'10", like real big, stocky dude. But I was, I'm long, so I was just sticking and moving, and he would come in, I would tie clinch him, and I was just kneeing a hole through his ribs, right? And then beat him up for like 3 rounds. And then after that fight, like we were talking, and I was like, dude, this is my first amateur fight ever. I've only been training MMA for 6 months.
Wow.
And he was like, damn, you're a fucking beast, blah, blah, blah. And like, I was like, all right. So that's what's up. So then I took another fight like 2 weeks later in it's like a local show in Virginia Beach, like TKO'd the dude in like 25 seconds, And then, so like at this point, I didn't know shit about diet or like eating healthy. Like I was just a fighter. I was just a young 21-year-old kid that just with a chip on his shoulder that wanted to scrap, you know what I mean? Right. And part of that too is I think like, I was pissed off kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like I was pissed off. It was like, I grew up in an area, like in my part of town, it was weird. Like you'd have like a kind of a mix in incomes from families, right? Like I knew some kids that I went to high school with that were so rich, like their parents were buying them like Mercedes and Lambos and shit when they were 16. But then I had other friends who were like kind of broke, you know what I mean? Like more lower. So it was like in the middle, and my parents, they did all right, but they could have done more. They could have done more for me than they did, for sure. But we'll kind of talk about that. But I used to be mad that they didn't, right? I used to be mad, and I'd be like, man, like this fucking guy, he got this, he got that, you know what I mean? And so I was pissed that from a young age, I was kind of pissed off that I didn't have the life that I wanted, you know what I mean? And I didn't have what I wanted, I have the things I wanted. But kind of when around the time I turned 18, 19, that's kind of when I realized like nobody's going to give me shit. You know what I mean? Anything I ever want, I'm going to have to go get it, because I don't have any rich family that's going to give me a, $500,000 life insurance policy or
no one's going to bail you out.
Yeah, nobody's going to bail me out, right? And it's always been that way. And so I knew if I wanted a better life than I had, I was going to have to get it for myself, right? And I hated working for people. Yeah. Because every boss you ever have is a dick, and they act like they're better than you because they got some money, or like it's like they got the hand on you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And when you're a fighter, that's hard, man. Like you can't deal with that shit, especially like as I got later on in life, after I'd already been in the UFC and competed at a high level. I realized real quick that I was unemployable. After I started fighting,
like, I do not take orders well.
I got fired from like 4 jobs, bro, in like 2 weeks. Like within 2-3 days. Yeah, I was just getting fired. Like every job I took, I was getting fired from. And I was like, man, this shit ain't working.
Just
'Cause,
gotta
like,
find
somebody,
something else.
yeah, like somebody say something, I'd be like, man, fuck you. Who the fuck are you talking to, bro?
I
Like,
can't say a single word because I'm the exact same way. I had to learn those
yeah,
lessons too.
yeah.
So wait, so you were only training 6 months before you had your first fight?
6 months, bro. And a lot of people don't realize I wasn't really an athlete in high school either, which considering how talented I became as a fighter in a short amount of time with my background, it's a shame that I didn't have my shit together more in high school, because I think I really could have been a top 5 or top 10 guy had I have done that, and like had the wrestling background and went to college. Because I think for
Yeah.
sure if I would have wrestled in high school, I would have got a college scholarship or something. But it was funny because it was kind of one of those things. I was 20 years old, and I remember I told everybody I was going to fight in the UFC one day. Like, I just made a decision. I was like, this is what I'm going to do.
Mm.
And I was like, I'm going to fight in the UFC. And I was 20 years old. My mom thought I was crazy. All my friends thought I was crazy. They're like, dude, you smoked cigarettes for 2 years in high school. Like, you're not an athlete. Like, you didn't do this. You didn't have a wrestling back. Like, everybody had all the reasons why I couldn't do what I wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't listen to nobody. I was like, fuck that. I'm gonna fight in the UFC one day, right? And 8 years after I said that to everybody, I was in the finals of the toughest tournament in sports, the Ultimate
Yeah.
Fighter. So,
And you were part of like one of the teams of one of the best fighters like of all time. I mean, you were on Team Edgar.
yeah.
So it's like, and you were going up against like BJ Penn's team. So it's like, it's not like it was like a just scrap people like out there. Like, you were going up against like serious athletes.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
So let me ask you though, was there a specific event so that happened that made you flip that switch of like, I need to cut this BS out. I need to get focused on something or to keep me away from the streets?
yeah, it was just a decision, man, is really all I could say. It was a mindset thing, but it was a decision. Up to that point, I had been a loser most of my life, what I had considered a loser.
Mm.
And I was tired of being a fucking loser. I was like, I'm not going to be a loser anymore. I'm a fucking winner, and I'm going to be a winner. And I was like, I'm the fucking man. And every day I woke up, I told myself I was a man and I'm a fucking winner. And that's the mentality I've kept ever since. And I mean, I don't know what to say other than I made a decision and I went to work. That's it. It's just a mindset thing. You know what I mean? Most people, what I've learned, I've been around elite performers and, athletics and fighting the majority of my adult life, been in a lot of different world champion teams. And it's the same thing I'm learning in the business world. You know what I mean? With elite performers, it all just boils down to like a mindset and a discipline, but
Mm.
what I've learned through fighting and through entrepreneurship and business and sales is most people will quit too early, right? It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's fighting. It doesn't matter if it's high commission sales, especially people that go from like an employee job to try to go into high commission sales. They quit too early before they get over that learning curve. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
maybe they have a couple bad weeks and then they get scared and they're like, I got to get a job. Right. So they fucking throw everything away and then they get scared and they run back to their job. And me, luckily for me, I guess I didn't really have a choice. Because I was not good at this, bro. I tell you, so this is how committed I was. Like, when I finally left the first company I was with, that went to a different company, and the guy actually taught me how to really sell and make money. Like, really trained me how to sell like properly, which I didn't have first. I had a truck at the time and I sold it for $6,000 to buy leads.
Wow.
Right. And this is how quickly my life changed once I actually put the work in and figured out and got a good mentor. So this was January 2020, right? I sold my truck in like November of 2019 to buy leads, right? So I spent like $6,000 on leads and I was getting my head chopped off, bro. I was like, I would call him every day, like cussing, like, these fucking leads suck, blah, blah, blah. And like, he's like, dude, it's not the leads, it's you. And I'm like, it's not me. And he's like, dude, you're not a fighter anymore. Like, these are old people. Like, you can't be like you got to relax. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
I was like, fuck these people, man. They're bullshit. And like, I was getting pissed, you know? And, but I had a really good mentor, man, and he helped me a lot. And like me and him were kind of one and the same in a lot of ways. And, so I remember like it was January, and I had burned through like $5,000 worth of leads, and I wasn't making any money. And I was like, dude, I like, this is it. I said, if I don't make any money this week, I got to go get a job. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do, because I didn't have any skills where I was going to go make any real money. You know, I could go back to teaching fitness and martial arts, but you ain't making any fucking money doing that.
Yeah, you're not building generational wealth holding pads.
You're lucky you can pay your bills working as a coach at most gyms, unless you own the gym, you know? Yeah. And so all the money I had saved I actually was going to open a gym originally when I got done fighting. But I had burned through all that money when I was on the shelf for so long with all those surgeries, just back-to-back surgery.
Yeah.
And then, so in January of 2020, I had $2,000 in my bank and $33,000 in credit card debt.
Wow.
And this is where I was telling you, I was at the point where I was like, this is it. I told him, his name was Josh. I said, Josh, this is it, dude. If it doesn't work this week, I'm done. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess I'm going to go work security for $15 an hour and teach fitness and martial arts. But until I figure it out, but I was like, this ain't working for me. And that week I went out and made $3,000. Right.
Huh.
And then you fast forward 6 months, I had $35,000 in my checking account. I paid off $10,000 in debt, and I had a $17,000 gold watch I was trying to sell. In 6 months, that's how quickly I changed my situation financially. But I fucking went to work like 70 hours, like six days a week, 12-hour days, just working.
So wait, was that the watch like something that you like owned just from like your fight winnings, or is it like something like you set up like, oh, this is what I'm gonna start doing? Because so for those of you that don't know, you actually have a luxury like watch selling business also.
Yeah. So actually, right around that time, is when I started a watch business. So I met a guy when I lived in South Florida, actually, who taught me the watch business, by buying, selling, and trading high-end luxury watches. At the time, the only thing I knew about watches were they were expensive and I couldn't afford them. Right. Yeah. But like, he started teaching me, and I was like, even if I could afford them, I wouldn't buy them. It's fucking dumb. Who's going to spend 15, 20 grand on a watch? Right. Yeah. But then he taught me about how you could buy the watch and use the watch as a networking tool to get in front of more high net worth people. Right. Because when you walk into a nice restaurant with a $20,000 Rolex on, people that have money know what that is. Right. Yeah. And they want to talk to you, and they will talk to you. And so that'll strike up a conversation for me to pitch them on selling them a watch, sell them insurance, whatever, or, you know what I mean? Make a connection. Maybe this guy owns a car business now, because we connected on watches, you can give me a discount. Like, watches has changed my network so much. And so I had actually bought that watch. Was a watch that I had bought with the intention of reselling for a profit. So that was like one of the first watches I bought that I tried to flip and make money. And then, I just started putting all the capital that I was making from my insurance business into luxury watches. And then I started buying, selling, and trading the luxury watches to make more money on the side. Yeah. And it started as like a little side hustle, and now it's actually growing into a decent little business. So now I'm just fucking 10 times busier than I was.
I love it. I mean? I sit there and like follow it all the time because I love watches. I've always wanted to collect watches, but obviously I don't have the capital for it. Like this is like the most expensive watch that I have, and it's the Seiko, and I got it because it just looks like the Rolex 𝗶𝗬𝘂 watch. I'm like, but I love it. You know what I mean? But like that's the thing. Like, people don't realize just how crazy like the watch game like really is, like the kind of watches that are out there. But it's funny because I love it. Like when I follow like your Instagram on it and I see you post, I was like, damn, that's like my favorite watch. That's like my go watch. Like that Submariner, the blue Submariner with the gold. Oh man, I'm like,
Oh
one
yeah,
day.
the stainless with the gold, the two-tone.
Yeah, dude. Like that's like I remember this was 2008, going to New York, going down to Chinatown just so I could get the bootleg Rolex. Just so I could be like, I got a Rolex, and then just walking down the street on Las Olas in Fort Lauderdale and just literally having it fall apart on my wrist. Like, no, it's like, that was $20, man. I want that watch. I don't care how fake it is. So
funny.
it's funny, dude. But like, it's so awesome that I mean, for all intents and purposes, you willed your way through everything. Because you were on the verge of quitting. You were on the verge of quitting, saying like, "Screw this! I have to go back to work for somebody else."
Yeah, I was, and I thank Josh for that, because if it wasn't for him, I probably would have quit the insurance business, and I don't know what I would have done. I knew I probably would have found some other sales job, because towards the end of fighting, I started listening to Grant Cardone a lot. You know, Grant Cardone is,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, I like this guy, man. And he was like, you don't need a job that you love. He's like, you need a job that's going to pay you some damn money.
Yeah.
He's like, everybody wants to, do your dream job, work your dream job. He's like, no, you need to make some damn money. And that's where I was at. I was like, dude, I've been living my dream my whole life, and I'm fucking 32 years old and I'm broke. I don't have a pot to piss in, you know? And I was like, I'm just tired of this shit, you know? And as much as I love fighting, I mean, I literally rode the fight train until I had to jump off. Like I was literally so broke there. I couldn't have trained for a fight if I wanted to, because I couldn't have paid my bills. And then like after I lost that last fight in Canada, I was looking for other fight opportunities. Dude, they were trying to pay me like the same money that I had made like 7 years ago to beat up like debut guys, but they want me to fight like Bellator veterans with 18 pro fights for like 3,000 to show and 3,000 to win. I'm like, so I'm going to train 12 weeks and fight this guy. And then after I pay my taxes, coach, and my manager, and if I don't have any injuries, I'll have fucking like $2,000 in my pocket for 3 months worth of work. I'm like, no, like, so it was at that point, man, where I had to turn the page, and I didn't want to, because I still think the best was yet to come with my athletic career. But this is this is an important message for, I think, a lot of young fighters to realize, man, because so many guys in the fight game are one injury away from just being done. You know what I mean? And you kind of have to have that blind faith and just ride it. But if I could do anything different, what I would tell people is, because I wasted so many years, and what I mean by that is I had so much free time to learn valuable skills to make money when I was fighting, but I never took advantage of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because we train in the morning, and then you pretty much have the whole day off, and then you train again at night. So during the day, you need to learn some type of skill, whether it's social media marketing. You want to learn to sell watches, learn real estate, learn YouTube, learn affiliate marketing. There's so many ways to make money, but just start some type of side skill, side hustle, to where you can start generating yourself money. Because like a lot of guys had other things going on, but unfortunately I didn't have anything else really going on outside of fighting to make me money. And that's what shortened my career.
Yeah.
Because
it's funny
when that wasn't working, there was nothing left for me to do, like Jason Jackson, for example. He had a tree business with his brother, Smart, you know what I mean? So like he could go make money, like and survive and make good money, right? But me, I'm just like doing privates or teaching security for, doing security $15 an hour, like not even keeping my head above water. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's funny because like, I mean, it may sound weird to you, but like one of the conversations that we had years ago, and it was probably like one of the last times that I saw you training with everybody down here, was actually probably one of the most influential conversations that I had in how I do my business. Because when I started my company, it was strictly focused on music, because I worked in the music industry my whole life. I worked with bands. I worked with some of the biggest bands. I did everything. And I got tired of working for these old like managers that just don't understand the way that things are moving. So then they're all dicks, like we were talking about. So you were training and I was walking around taking photos and stuff. And I remember, and if I throw too much out there, like, just let me know. But like, I remember we were having the conversation where you were saying just that. It's like, dude, I'm trying. Like, I kept asking you, like, when's the next fight? I'm trying to do this. I can't get money. It's like, I'm this close. And like, I remember you telling me I'm this close to go and just start driving Uber. And I'm like, man, like, that's bad. Like, this is the guy that I watched on TV fighting in the UFC. He was a name that everybody knew. And then now he's the one that's like struggling. And that's kind of put two and two together why I wanted to start working more with fighters with the exact same mindset of the way that I always tell like fighters is like, I'm not going to sit there and just manage your social media. I'm not going to just manage your marketing. I'm going to teach you how to manage your own stuff because you need to learn that. And at the end of the day, and I tell this to music artists, I tell that to athletes, any athlete out there, is that you are no different than a piece of produce on the shelf. You're only so good to somebody for that limited amount of time. And when you hit that expiration date, you're off the shelf. No one's going to buy anymore. Now you got to figure out something else to do. So like, seeing how much you've grown like professionally now, and then the way that like the struggles that you were having before, like sleeping like on like a single bed, like all the other stuff, like a bunch of fighters sharing apartments and stuff like that, is inspirational. But it's also like from someone that was a fan of your fighting, where it's like, man, that makes me happy because it's like you didn't give up on yourself. Like, forget all the fighting stuff, like, because you busted your ass training, but you didn't give up on yourself and all the challenges that pretty much anybody else is going to go through. They might not be trying to be like a world-class fighter, like fighting on like the biggest, like, you know, cage out in the world. Like, you're still going to be fighting for your family, fighting for yourself to get a job, to get paid, to get where you're at. So like, to see where you're at is so awesome, dude. Like, I'm so happy for you. But now even hearing like everything that you were going through mentally, like that's even crazier to see or hear.
Yeah, it was tough, man. Like I hit rock bottom there for a while, man, and I was just real depressed, just struggling and just trying to figure it out, man. I was never been so broke and scared in my life. You know what I mean? And like I even asked my parents for money, which I you know, I can have a big ego, right? So it's hard for me to ask people for money. And like I even asked my parents for money, and I knew they weren't going to give it to me, but I didn't have a choice but to ask, even though I didn't want to ask. And I asked, and of course they didn't give it to me. But
Yeah.
so it was tough, man. But it's just, yeah. I mean, we're all fighters in one way or another, right? And it just boils down to the only reason that I got where I got is just because I didn't quit. You know what I mean? And like I said, what I've seen is most people, they just quit too early with anything, whether it's, you know, fighting, opportunity, anything. It's just people, they want overnight success, right? I had a mentor, he calls it the microwave generation, right? Calls us the microwave generation. He's like, y'all want it. Y'all want everything to happen right now. You want to put a frozen meal in and be done in 2 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't work like that. It's going to take a couple hours, you know?
So you went from 2K in debt, or I'm sorry, 2K in your bank, 33 in debt. And it was that one sale that kind of just flipped it for you. Like, oh wait, it does work. Like, I can do this.
Well, it was like the last week, you know, and you call it God, the universe, whatever, man. I was just praying. I was like, dude, just help me. Like, I'm struggling. And I went out that week and I made $3,000 in my pocket. Never made that much money in a week in my life, aside from a couple of big fight paydays, but never from a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I don't know if something just clicked, or like I finally got the learning curve down. I finally got my words right, saying what I needed to say, overcoming objections, and I just started running from there, man. And I made over $100,000 that year.
Wow.
And the next year I made quite a bit more than $100,000. And yeah, and then now, so now I actually have what's really cool, how this is like an awesome moment for me, where I'm like, man, this is awesome. So I started recruiting and mentoring and training some agents too, right? So I had this guy that fought on the last fight that I had up in Canada. I actually had this young fighter who met me up there. You know, we hung out and stuff, and we always stayed in touch. And so he lives in Kentucky, and he works at a Ford plant. He worked at a Ford plant, right? He made like $26 an hour, and they worked this kid like a fucking slave, man. He worked 7 days a week, bro, like 70, 80 hours a week. So he was working 7 days a week, every week, 80 hours a week. And he was only taking home like $3,200 a month. And I'm like, damn, dude, you know? And so he started reaching out to me about the insurance business. And I was like, dude, if you do exactly what I tell you to do and you put the work in, I was like, 100%, like, there's no way you can't make more money than your job. I was like, the commissions are just too high. I was like, there's no way you can't. If you put the same work ethic into your job, that you do this the same amount of time every week until you get going, I was like, you will win. And he did exactly what I told him, man. I had that guy. It took him a couple months. He almost quit too. He was about to jump off the ledge, but he's a stubborn fighter, and he was just tired of being broke, and he was tired of working for the man. He was tired of not writing his own checks, writing his own schedule. And he just refused to quit. And he got his ass kicked for months, but he kept at it, man. And he kept going, And now I've got that kid to the point where he's made his best week so far. He made $3,500 in his pocket in 1 week.
Wow.
And that's more than he used to make in a month working 80 hours.
Yeah.
And he made $3,500 in 1 week working about 35 hours that week.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him, man.
And so that's awesome for me to now, like, for it to come full circle, kind of like the martial arts, like from a coaching side, right? Like, I can help change this guy's life now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I changed this guy's life. I took him from a blue collar work environment. He just got tired of working for the man, tired of not making any real money. He wanted more out of life. And I showed him how he can make more money, and he took it and he ran with it, man. And he changed his life. And
that's awesome.
Yeah. And so that was like the first guy that I trained to make money. And it was just awesome for me I was probably happier for him than he was for himself.
Yeah.
I was just like, dude, you did it, bro. Like, I was just so pumped for him, you know?
But I mean, that's so awesome too, hearing that, like, in such a short amount of time, it was like 4 years total, that you went from, you were struggling so much to the point where now you helped somebody else. You took the knowledge that you made, and now you helped somebody else gain that freedom, and really kind of get their life back. Like, not just financially, but like, man, like, you're not working for somebody else. You're not literally giving your life away for somebody else to make money.
Right. Yeah. And like I said, this kid was working 6-7 days a week, 10, 12-hour days. So, like, he's literally given his whole life to this company for $850 a week or $800 a week. You know, it's like, fuck that. Fuck that.
So when you were, like, I guess looking back now, and then looking at how you were experiencing everything from, like, your fighting going from Bellator and then, like, UFC, like, what kind of things do you really look back at and you wish that other fighters knew before they made that decision? Like, oh, I want to be a professional fighter. Like, what things, like, really kind of stick out to you?
So what do you mean exactly?
Like, I mean, there's, like, even the other day I got a phone call from somebody, which, mind you, I'm not a professional fighter. Like, I barely make it to jiu-jitsu class every week now. Like, and the kid calls me up, and he's someone who's like early 20s, doesn't really have like a career path. And he's like, it kind of pissed me off with the question that he asked me. He's like, what is the feasibility of getting into the UFC to become a professional fighter? I'm like, dude, you're not going to do that. If you have to ask that,
Yeah.
automatically it's not going to happen. Like you
Right.
don't want to fight. You are seeing the limelight. You're looking at Conor McGregor and shit like that and thinking, oh, I'm going to be a big fighter, make $1 million. Like there's years of getting punched and kicked in the face for you to even remotely come close to having that chance. And even then it's not going to like happen.
And see, and here's the thing about the fight game. And see, you probably haven't thought about it this way, but once I say it, you'll be like, yeah, that's true. Because you've been around it long enough that you know now for any young fighter out there, I can tell you it's to make it in fighting. It's a combination of 3 things, right? It's a combination of luck. It's a combination of timing, and it's a combination of skill, right? Because think of it like this, like here's a scenario, like let's say this, it doesn't like, it's just, whatever this guy's name is, he's a badass, right? He's up and coming. He gets to the UFC, right? He wins his first fight, right? Beats the dude's ass, bad, knocks him out. Wins his second fight, right? He's still on like a 10-10 contract. So he's really not making jack shit after his injuries and coaches and managers and taxes. Like he ain't making any money. He's still barely surviving financially if that's the only income he's got. So let's say a guy wins 2 fights dominantly in the UFC, right? Then he blows his knee out in the gym, right? Now he's on the shelf for a year. So now you're talking 1.5 years before he gets back to the fight game, right? Maybe he loses his next fight, right? And maybe the UFC decides they want to cut him. Now this guy's career could be over now, even though he's fucking good. You know what I mean? He just had some bad luck, some bad timing, right? Because you gotta be good enough to get there. You gotta get the opportunity, right? And then once you're there, you gotta be lucky enough to not get hurt.
I mean,
because all these guys, I'm telling you, I mean, all these guys are one major. A lot of these up and coming guys that are broke, they're one major injury away from having to go get a fucking full-time job.
And it only takes
one injury. That's it.
It only takes one ACL, douchebag training partner who decides to like go for like a low cut and like tear your knee out. Like it takes like one person to be like sloppy when like you're on sparring day where these 2 guys are scrambling and then one rolls over your knee.
That's it.
Yeah. And we've seen it. I mean, we know guys from the gym that like that's happened too, where it's like up and coming. They were gonna be in the UFC, one injury, and then like nope, nothing. Like now you like bump back down. And aside from the injuries, right? Like how many guys I can tell you that I know and that you know too that are good, right? Guys that like should have been in the UFC and with me, should have been in Bellator with me, and maybe they didn't get hurt, but for whatever reason they just never got that shot. And then when they did or when they were close to getting that shot, maybe they got hurt and had a surgery or whatever, so it's like all the stars have to align perfectly for you to get in the big show and make money. It's more than just you being that good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's just one part of the puzzle. There's many pieces to it,
Well, that's the funny part, because I always tell guys like now, it's like, man, you could be great. You could be 5-0, 10-0, but if you don't have the business mentality of it, what are you going to do after? What's going to happen? Guys all think the exact same thing. I'm going to go fight, whether they win the championship or not. Like we go open up a gym and then I'm going to live the rest of my life doing like seminars and like living off the gyms. Like, no, it's not guaranteed that your gym's going to like kill it. You're not going to have a franchise.
Very few people make a good living teaching martial arts. I mean, you know that, but everybody, it's the thing is, man, I think too with a lot of fighters, like everybody loves fighting, right? Everybody wanted to stay in the gym all the time. Like it's fun, right? But it comes a point too, like, and this won't happen for everybody. Like a lot of people aren't money motivated the way I was. A lot of people don't care. They don't want to make a lot of money. They don't have goals and aspirations to make $300,000 or $500,000 a year like I do, right? Like you have people that are just happy, that would be happy teaching fitness and martial arts, making 40, 50 grand a year, right? That's not me. I don't want to barely get by, even if it's doing something I love, because there's so much more to life that you can experience that you need money to do, And so I just felt like I was ready to move on from that. But I think too, with a lot of fighters, it's not that they just love it so much they can't ever leave the gym life. I think it's an ego thing too for a lot of fighters. Like they have this ego, right? And is a hard transition that we talked about. And what takes a truly successful person, a characteristic of truly successful people, is they can lower their ego enough to something like I did, right? Like I had a Wikipedia page. At one point, I walked into Mandalay Bay and fucking 30 people would be in there asking for an autograph and, hey, sign this picture of me that they printed out, right?
Yeah.
To being the man, right? So I go from being the man and making $100,000 in 6 months in the UFC, and everybody knows who I am, to pretty much like starting from nothing, like starting from scratch in a business that I knew nothing about, where I wasn't good, I wasn't the best. You know what I mean? Like anything I had done before didn't matter because I was starting from the bottom with the lowest skill set of anybody in the company, you know? And so a lot of people I don't think can do that. A lot of people can't humble themselves enough to, they can't put their ego aside to be like, oh, I was a fucking man. I fought in the UFC. Now I got to come over here and start from day one, from scratch. Like I'm a white belt who's never took a jiu-jitsu class in his life, and I'm showing up to jiu-jitsu class with all these black belts.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I always use that kind of analogy where it's like there's guys that are world-class athletes, like world-class strikers, but the second that they come to like a jiu-jitsu class, they're getting like the 16-year-old kicking the shit out of them. So like you end up having a fighter's like, I'm not going back to that jiu-jitsu class. Like,
right.
It's like, well, don't get mad then in the fight. Like when it's like your turn to like do some grappling, like you're nowhere because you weren't willing to take that ego hit for another 6 months, 8 months, a year, whatever, to at least get some grappling in. So it makes sense. But do you really think that like that's the mentality of why these guys aren't doing that extra work during the middle of their career to have that backup? Because I feel like there's so many guys that it's like you said, they go train in the morning, fuck off during the day, go train at night, and that's it. Like when you have a good 8 hours. I mean, you have 8 hours to build a skill every day, but it seems like they never realize it until they know they got maybe 2-3 fights left, and then they're done, and then they're scrambling to figure out, and then making all sorts of bad business decisions.
Right. You know, I don't know if that's because they're just so convicted, you know, because as a fighter, right, you're selling yourself every day that you're the best, and you have blinders on, you know, there's no other option. And so I think that maybe some of these guys are just so convinced, you know, and it's another thing too, is like you'll have like, we use Mike Chandler, right? Everybody knows Mike Chandler. You have all these guys that come in and they'll spar with Mike Chandler, right? And like, or a Rumble or somebody of that caliber, and they'll have a couple good sparring rounds, or they'll even win a couple sparring rounds.
Yeah.
And now they're like, not saying that this is wrong, because I mean, that's just a fighter mentality, but they're so convinced now because they won one sparring round against Mike Chandler that they're going to be the next 7-figure earner. And that's not the reality. You know what I mean? Like most people are never going to make any real money, you know? And so I don't know if these guys don't learn other skills because they're just so convinced that martial arts is going to be the end all be all. And maybe, like I said, maybe that's all they want. And some people don't put profits over passion, you know, and I put passion over profits for a long time, most of my life. But then there became a point to where I had to put profits over passion.
Yeah.
And that now that I've seen the gains of those profits, honestly, bro, like I could, and I miss training. I love training. And I want to go back to do jiu-jitsu and start working on my black belt, you know, but then like when I think about signing up for a gym and taking jiu-jitsu at night, I'm like, man, I could be making money right now. Like I could be making a couple more phone calls. I could be online looking for another watch. I could be trying to sell this watch I got. I could be booking appointments for tomorrow to run insurance, you know? Yeah. So now I'm just like, I don't know. I kind of flipped the switch the other way. I'm like a workaholic now. I'm just, I'm addicted to the grind, and and chasing money, I guess.
So wait, so what jiu-jitsu belt are you now?
I've been a 2-stripe blue belt since 2009.
You fucking sandbagger. You
Yeah,
sandbagging like bullshit.
I got I stopped training in the gi like shortly after that because it's not really feasible for MMA,
Yeah.
so I stopped training in the gi back in like 2009 right after I got my blue belt, and just all I did was no gi. But I did get a silver medal at Naga in 2015 for no gi expert division, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah, I mean, dude.
No, I didn't sandbag. I entered the expert division in no gi, and I got second. And the only reason that I got second, I think I could have beat the guy, but he tried to choke me, couldn't choke me, tried to armbar me, couldn't armbar me, and then he fucking heel hooked me. I thought it was a bitch move for a tournament. And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you think I'm really gonna fight you for a heel hook like in a damn grappling tournament? So like, as soon as he grabbed, because I was still fighting, you know what I mean?
You were still in the thick of it.
As soon as he grabbed my ankle, I just tapped. I was like, you can have it, bro. Like, fuck out of here.
So you can keep the Naga sword. I'm good.
Like, yeah, you just trying to you got to win by heel hook. That's kind of a bitch move. But
so would you not do like any grappling tournaments at least?
Well, here's the thing, man. Is like. I'm a winner, right? I want to win. And so if I go to do a grappling tournament, I'm gonna have to put in a lot of work to get prepared for that.
Yeah.
And that takes time off making money.
Yeah. I hear you.
I'm trying to go forward. I'm trying to get a Lambo in 2 years, bro. I got a 2-year goal to get a Lambo.
Yeah, which one are you looking at to get?
Whichever one I can get the best deal on that makes sense financially. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's a short-term play, but it's like my mentor that taught me watches. He also teaches you how to do the same thing with cars. Like, you get into exotic cars, you drive them for 6 months, and then you sell them and break even.
Yeah.
Right. But what's the exotic car going to allow me to do? The exotic car is going to allow me to get in the car clubs and tap into all these other high net worth people with Lambos. And then I become the watch guy for everybody in the car groups.
Yeah. Don't throw out all your secrets, bro. Don't throw out the game plan, bro.
Hey.
I mean, I need to get a Lambo too. I mean, I'm more a Ferrari guy, but whatever.
Hey. Yeah.
It's funny.
I don't know if I can fit in a Lambo. I'm hoping I can, but
you'd have to get the Shaq one.
You might have to settle for a Rolls,
Yeah, like people our size, we gotta go for the Shaq Forever convertible ones.
Well, actually, it's funny you said Ferrari because I talked to a guy in the exotic car group I'm in, and he's 6'6".
Yeah.
And he has a Lambo, and he said like he doesn't feel comfortable driving it fast because he's just too big for it.
Yeah.
But he said he had a Ferrari, and he said there's like Ferraris are much better suited for people over 6'3". So.
Yeah, they gave us a little bit extra leg room than the Lambo.
We might have to settle for a Ferrari instead.
It's a tough life. It's a tough life you're living now. I'm gonna have to settle for the Ferrari. I'll remember that.
Too tall for a Lambo. Damn.
Like I guess you're over the selling of your truck.
Yeah.
Oh man, dude, that's so freaking awesome, man. I'm so stoked to hear. And like that's the funny part is like when I started seeing you doing the watch game, like man. Like those are every single like watches like I always love. Like you even get like the Omega like Speedmaster and stuff like that. Like I love all those things.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing a Planet Ocean right now. A little
humble flex
watch. This is the cheapest watch I've had on in a long time.
Yeah.
Humble flex. Three. Not too many. Too often nowadays I have watches for sale that are $3,000.
Yeah.
I got a white gold Daytona I'm trying to sell for $65,000.
But you get the new Daytona. That's the new Daytona, not the original.
Oh yeah, it's brand new. It's 2022.
Man, you know what's funny? It's like, do you get into like the history of the watches and stuff too? Like when you're going for like picking them up and stuff, like the original ones when they came out.
Yeah, I try to learn about watches, like more about them, and research them and stuff.
Well, it's funny because that Daytona, like if I'm remembering it correctly, like everybody hated it when it first came out. Like the original Daytona, everybody hated it. And then like little by little, it became like kind of like a cult following to it. And then it's like now, if you try to buy an original Daytona, like good luck.
Yeah.
I hope you got that money.
It's weird, man. Yeah. It's whether it's one celebrity or whatever, it's like Rolex isn't a certain Rolex isn't popular, and then somebody wears it on TV, and now everybody wants it.
Yeah. So what's the most expensive watch that you've had that like you flipped after? You don't have to give me the price, but I'm saying like what's the most like expensive watch where like you picked it up, you're like, holy shit, I'm holding this like $300,000 watch.
My buddy had a Patek, a
Uh,
Patek, a Patek Philippe that was worth probably $120,000.
wow.
And I was just like, yeah, this is just dumb.
It's like
But I
crazy
had,
money.
yeah, I had two watches. I had an AP and a Rolex that together they were total probably like $105,000.
Wow.
And I remember holding them both in my hand, and I was just like, this is just so fucking dumb. I was like, I can't believe people spend this much money on watches. But hey.
And that's when you get into like the crazy like complications and stuff when they have like so much going on. And yeah.
It's cool though, man. It's been fun, and just really just expand the network, and getting around, people that buy $20,000-$30,000 watches. Those are guys you want to be friends with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, that's funny because
I don't want broke ass friends.
Sorry, I guess we're not friends anymore. Sorry, man.
I'm saying you can't have as much fun with broke friends. You know what I'm saying? You want to be friends with guys with $30,000 watches. They got big ass boats and shit. And
so
if they invite you to their birthday party, it's gonna be a lot of fun for sure.
So is there a boat planned for you too then?
I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm trying to right now my goal is to get 800 Medicare apps. That's my focus, because I'm in business with some guys, and once I get 800 Medicare apps on the books, which will take me probably another year and a half, I'll be able to sell that whole book of business for over $1.5 million.
Wow. Dude, that's so awesome.
So I'm literally working 6 days a week, just putting my head down with that's my only goal and focus right now, is getting my 800. Once I get my 800 and cash out, then I'm gonna sit back and figure out what I want to do.
That's good. I think once you hit that, you kind of buy yourself a couple of weeks vacation.
Yeah,
right? Because you've been grinding pretty hard, like nonstop the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, literally from the time I wake up. Oh, so I don't know if you know, but I also breed French bulldogs too.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I got like 3 like really badass French bulldog. I got probably $40,000 worth of French bulldogs in my house. Yeah, I got like some really expensive dogs, and so yeah, I'm busy, man. From the time I wake up in the morning to the time I go to bed, like I'm doing something, whether it's working or studying or trying to learn something new or cleaning up dog shit. Take care of my dog.
So do you do any work and stuff like Rumble? Because I know Rumble had like his kennel thing going on. He was I think, was it bulldogs or pit bulls?
he was breeding Frenchies, and I think like exotic bullies.
Yeah. So like, did you ever like reach out to him, like be like, hey, like what do you do with like this situation or something like that? Just
I haven't hit him up yet on the dogs, but probably should.
Yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while. I know like I guess
he's super famous though. He might not respond to my Instagram DMs.
No, dude, for sure. It's you.
He probably gets like 1,000 DMs a day. Who knows?
Dude, yeah. He still managed to like have time to kick my ass and break my rib last year. So I think he's got time for you. Yeah. If he's got time to kick my ass, he's got time for you for sure.
Yeah, man.
Do you get any of the guys that like you train with like hitting you up like now that they like see how well you're doing and kind of like try to ask you for more advice or like to kind of give them a lead?
No, not really, because like I said, from what my experience with most fighters, it's they're gonna ride that they're gonna ride that ship until it sinks. You know what I'm saying? Like like the Titanic is sinking and you know it's going down, and they're fucking they got a deadbolt. They're chained to the fucking rail and they're ready to sink with that motherfucker, you know?
Yeah.
And I was the same way, but they're riding a sinking ship until it sinks, and then I think they're gonna look for something else.
So if like the UFC hits you up, say, hey, we want to do some nostalgia like exhibition fight, you wouldn't do it?
They'd have to pay me enough money for it to be worth it.
Like, how much would be enough money to be like, let's bring back Matt Van Buren for one fight?
At least 100 grand.
That's it, man.
At least, like, minimum. I'm saying minimum, like
Minimum, or
win, lose, or draw. I need 6 figures in my hand,
yeah,
because if not, it's not. I mean, even then, that's still, I mean, not really
Yeah.
a lot of money all considered, because then what if I get that payday and then I get hurt or whatever, and then I'm on the shelf for a year, and then I got to pay for medical bills and rehab and all this shit.
You still have to go pay back all the same old bills.
Yeah,
Manager,
like,
coach.
yeah,
Anybody
like,
else that came out to fly out with you for the fight? Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
It is, man.
Do you still follow like all the fights and everything? Do you still watch?
I don't watch every fight, but I do, like, some of the bigger ones and the fights that interest me, I still watch them, but I don't have time to watch fights every single weekend. I mean, I was always a fan of the sport, but I was also more of a fighter than a fan, so I like watching fights, but like I said, like, I'm not going to sit and just watch fights for 4 hours on a Saturday. I'm like,
You get antsy.
I could be working on my businesses. You know what I mean? I hear Uncle G talking in the background.
So in a business mindset, because I definitely feel that there's a lot of people, whether it's in MMA or even in jiu-jitsu, especially jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu hurts a lot. People really kind of screw themselves over business-wise, like in jiu-jitsu, and they wonder why like jiu-jitsu people don't make any money. What do you recommend for people to really kind of be the steps? Like you said, you have a mentor, and I've heard it like a long time, and like one of the best keys to success is get a mentor. Like,
you have to, yeah. And
like, how do you approach someone though? Like, how do you sit there and say, like, I wouldn't come up and just be like blatantly to you, like, hey Matt, would you become like my mentor and teach me like everything that you've learned like the last few years and the last 10 years of like your whole career? Like, how does someone approach someone else to be that mentor?
Well, in the insurance business, they're incentivized monetarily, right? Because it's the insurance business works like a pyramid scheme, right? So you have uplines above you, right? And their commission level is higher than yours. So, like, let's say you're at 110% commission. Well, the guy above you may be at 120 or 130. So everything you sell, he's going to make 10 or 20% off, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's in his best interest to mentor you and coach you to make you better, so you make more sales, because you're going to make more money. You're going to make him more money. So that sense of it's kind of easy. But like from the watch, like the watch business, like this guy that I learned from actually has a course on it. He's selling the education, right? And over the last 3 years, I probably spent $12,000 on programs and coaching to learn how to buy, sell, and trade luxury watches. And I can tell you, it was worth every penny.
Yeah.
It's probably worth more than that.
Like, what's the biggest flip you've ever made on the watches?
Profit wise?
Yeah.
I bought a watch for like $19,600 and I sold it 3 weeks later for $26,400 or something. I made it was like a $6,600 profit.
That's a good flip. Yeah.
Yeah. Not bad, right?
Flip. Yeah. That's not bad.
And then my best week, right? Like, I was sitting at home, like, I was actually like kind of being lazy that week. Like,
I was gonna be lazy.
Like, I was sitting at home in my boxers, right? Just bullshitting, like watching TV and fucking sending text messages. And I sold 3 watches in 2 days sitting at home in my fucking underwear texting. I made like $7,500.
Dude, that's so nuts. That's awesome.
And I'm like, yo, I gotta figure this shit out. I'm like, if I could,
bro, if that's the case, I'm sitting on my ass in boxers selling watches all day, son.
Dude, I was like, if I could figure this out, like to make $7,500 a month consistently, let alone a week, you know what I mean? But, yeah, I mean, the watch thing is a very slow game as far as like building the business, but it's a very powerful and lucrative skill. And it's one of the fastest and easiest ways to make money I've ever seen, because of the liquidity factor too. Like, you got to think, like, cars and real estate, right? Like it's not that easy to just transact because there's paperwork involved, title companies, registration, all this bullshit that goes involved with you transacting the item, right?
Yeah.
Well, I could buy a $200,000 Richard Mille, turn around and sell it to you for 240,000, and you just send me a wire and I send you the watch, and boom, like I just made 40 grand off that watch. You know what I mean? But if it was a car or a house, like it's more of a process to get to the sale. You know what I mean?
It makes sense. It's a high value item that doesn't have the governmental like oversight to it.
Right. Yeah. And that's why watches are one of the most powerful assets out there.
Yeah.
And that's why you've never met a broke jeweler.
Yeah. That's true. I never thought about it that way. That's true. No, dude, that's awesome. Yeah. It's funny because like I think one of those like clips that's like viral is the guy that took the Rolex that he had from I guess like Vietnam or something like that. Have you ever seen it? Where the dude takes it to that the hell's it called? That Antique Roadshow. The dude takes it to that Antique Roadshow, and he's like, he has like the whole spread. He has the receipt from he purchased, the original box, everything, and he's like thinking like, oh, I paid $2,000 out of like the military commissary, and then it's like, I was like, no, this watch is like $1 million. Like, oh shit, like
it was faded.
Yeah. So like, it's funny. Like, I mean, I love it for the artwork of it, but looking at it like business wise, that's just absolutely crazy. Especially you start getting into like the Richard Milles and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Like, dude, I had a buddy, he bought a Richard Mille for $180,000 and he sold it a year later for $360,000 when the market moved up. I mean, it's crazy. Like,
well, was it I want to say like a month ago, Charles Leclerc, I want to say it was Charles Leclerc, Formula One driver, had his Richard Mille stolen.
Oh shit.
Didn't even bat an eye because they give it to them. That's the part. So if you look up, so like, because Formula One is sponsored by Richard Mille at the beginning of the season, everybody got this like $1 million watch.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Wow. His gets stolen. And then it's like, oh, whatever. He's like, I'll get another one. Like, damn. All right. We just have it like that, dude. Yeah. It's like, I think personally, I don't think that watch is that good looking, but it's just funny. Yeah. But whatever, man. Somebody just came off with that watch. He did not care. So then you got your goal. You got a house now too. You went from struggling. Now you got a house built and everything. Like,
yeah, I had a 500 credit score and a lot of debt. And then about 2 years later, I bought a brand new house. Got my credit score up over 700 now, debt free aside from my house. And just moving to a brand new house, man. So,
dude, man, I couldn't be like any happier. Cheers to you, bud.
Cheers, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it was a long road to get here. And it's just work, man.
But you say like it's a long road. I mean, granted, like outside of the struggling of getting the fights, and then like you made the decision. Like, at what point did you hit where you're like? I mean, you talked about it where like you made the money and everything, but like when that hit you where you're like, man, I think I'm done fighting. Like, how was that for you mentally?
It was hard, bro. It was hard.
Like, what was going through your mind?
I mean, it was just like, what am I gonna do? I don't know, because this is like, it's all I've known, and I loved it so much, man. You know what I mean? And it was just hard to accept the fact that the ride was over. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was over. I was going to have to go get a real job now. I didn't have a choice. I had to go find a way to make money. I was so freaking broke. I was about to either file bankruptcy or I was going to sell my condo and take the 20 grand in equity out that I had and pay off some of my debt and go back to renting an apartment or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I was going to have to do something. And, I'm sorry.
You took the real big leap of faith. Like when you said you sold a truck to get the $6,000 worth of leads. Like,
right.
I mean, that was a huge leap of faith in like that you had to take.
But yeah, I didn't have it. I mean, what was the other option?
Yeah.
You know, like this guy that's, telling me like, hey, you got to do what it takes to make it win. Like, like I made this dude show me his bank account, because the guy that I was working for before, I thought like they acted like they were making a bunch of money. I found out they really weren't. But this guy, I was like, dude, you like, you're telling me you're this fucking elite insurance sales guy. I was like, show me your bank account. Let me see the money. Let me see that the guy I know is trying to get me to come work with him is the real deal.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'll show you. He's like, hold on. And he pulled up his bank account, bro. This dude had like $230,000 in his checking account. And like, he showed me like $17,000 in deposits within like a week span, all from different insurance companies, all commission, all his name right there. And I was like, yeah, you the fucking man, bro.
He's like,
you the
I believe you.
I was like, you're the guy I need to learn from. And as soon as he showed me that, and he showed me the money was real, I bought a plane ticket that night, and I went up and met him in Delaware. That was when I first met him. We did training. We were working in the hood of Wilmington, Delaware, bro, in the hood.
Yeah.
Selling final expense burial insurance in the straight hood of Wilmington, Delaware. And I saw this dude go out in the hood, a white guy in the hood, all black neighborhoods. And I saw this dude make $10,000 in 4 days.
What?
Yeah. And I was like, yo, this dude's the man.
How the hell did he even do that?
Because the commissions are so high, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like if you, I mean, you can, on average, I would say the commission off a life insurance policy is like $800 to $1,500. You know, so if you got 4 days of appointments, you got 6-8 appointments a day, and you're closing 2 a day. You know, you close 2 out of 8 or 3 out of 8 or whatever, and then you got 4 days of appointments. You put up 6-7 apps in a week. Like, yeah, you're gonna make $5-10 grand in your pocket.
Wow. That's so crazy.
It's just a numbers game. Like sales is like, people like you always hear people say shit like, oh, sales isn't for me, right? It's like, why? I always ask them why is sales not for you? Because you're not good at it, right? Nobody's fucking good at anything they just start. It takes practice, right? Like you're not gonna just start learning to be an electrician and all of a sudden you know what the guy who's been doing it 8 years knows. It's you know, like sales, you're just an actor. You have lines you need to learn, right? It's a copycat system. Like once you learn what to say and how to say it, you just have to say it in front of enough people. That's all it is. It's a numbers game.
It's a numbers game.
Yeah, it's like you're an actor, right? Like once I teach you what to say, it's like Leo says in Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
It's like, this is all you gotta do, bro. All you have to do is speak the words that I have taught you, and I will show you how to make more money than any CEO in America.
Yeah.
And that's true. That's all it is. Like we all say the same shit. I mean, but there is an individual thing to it, right? Like,
yeah. You gotta have the charisma still.
The likability, trust. So there's different things you can do to work on your personality and becoming a better salesperson and being a better persuasion and things like that. But for the most part, man, it's just activity. You know, once you learn what to say, you're just an actor. You have lines like, okay, well, this guy made more money than you this week because he sat down with 20 people this week and said that, and you only sat down with 10.
Yeah. So on average, let's say like you get 50 people. How many of those 50 people actually buy in?
I would say like on average, like with life insurance, you're closing maybe 2 out of 10.
Wow. That's not bad. 20% is pretty fucking solid.
Yeah. Like 20% of your leads, right? So like let's say you get 50 leads for a week. You're probably going to close 20% of those. Not your appointments, but just the leads in general. If you work them hard enough, you know? And so
and then
you have to basically fail 80% of the time to make a 6-figure income. Yeah.
Some people can't handle that. Some people are really thin-skinned enough where they can't handle the constant rejection.
And that's what I tell every new person I've ever trained. I say the only thing standing between you and making the money you want is you getting in your feelings about somebody telling you no.
Wow. That's deep. That's actually a lot deeper than you think. Like the only thing separating you and the money you want to make is your feelings.
That's it. It's all, yeah. It's just your feelings. You get in your feelings about somebody telling you no.
Yeah.
That's it. Because it's any sales thing is a numbers game, right? Like even if you didn't work leads, like if you got an insurance license and you go stand out in front of Walmart in the parking lot and you pitch 100 people walking into Walmart life insurance, right? If you pitch enough of them, one of them's going to buy.
Yeah.
You could probably make $1,000 a day just standing in front of Walmart if you talk to enough strangers, if you're willing to do that,
Yeah.
right? But most people aren't willing to do what it takes to be successful.
Yeah.
I was willing to do what it takes. All I needed to do was meet somebody that was winning and show me how to win, right? So I found a guy who was making a shit ton of money selling insurance. And I said, I want to make a shit ton of money selling insurance. How do you do this? Show me how to do it. And
Yeah.
I fucking did everything he said to do. And I took notes and I worked hard and I asked questions and I was a student. You know, I was
Dude.
I was coachable. That was the difference. I'm coachable,
Yeah.
you know?
So knowing what you know now, if you could go back to beginning Matt Van Buren with the fight game, would you still go through all of that in the fight game, or would you have gone like just straight into like the sales?
No, of course I would have done the fight thing.
Like you wouldn't pass that
Yeah,
up?
no, of course not. Because life's about experience, man. You can always make money, right?
Mm.
And shit, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say, but honestly, I didn't think I was going to be as good at the business world as I was. I don't know, but I don't regret the fight thing at all. I'm fighting is what built the background and the discipline for me to be a successful business owner and entrepreneur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just taking that can't lose, can't quit attitude and applying it to business, right? So no matter how many times I fail, right? Like the difference is I just failed more times than most people were willing to, right? Like like I said, I almost quit insurance because I was failing. And most people would have quit before me and they would have went back to their job, especially if they came from I just didn't have anything to go back to. That was the thing that kept me hanging on longer, right? Like I was like, what am I going to do? Like, I'm not like some of these guys who had a W-2 job where they were making 70, 80 grand a year. They were making good money and then they're trying this and then it's not working out. Like, well, fuck, I'm going back to my job making 80 grand a year with benefits and vacation.
Yeah. The safety net.
I didn't have a safety net. I was like, this is it. I got to make this work. And so I think, and plus I'm just too stubborn too, you know, like I started getting stubborn. And then honestly, I started getting pissed again. I was like motivated anger in the right direction, right? I was like, I started getting mad that I felt like I wasn't good enough to make it in life insurance. Cause they told me 92% of life insurance agents fail in the first 2 years. Are you going to be the 92% or the 8%? And I'm like, I'm the fucking 8%. I'm the 1%. I'm gonna be number one in this bitch, you know?
Yeah.
And I just honestly was refusing to accept that I wasn't good enough to make the money these guys made, you know, because I followed them in the house. I shadowed them, you know, I was a fly on the wall. I sat with these guys when they run appointments and I watched them go through the whole presentation, sell, and I would just sit there and be like, there's no way this guy's better than me. I can be that good. I just got to keep working. And that was my, you know, I just got to keep working a little harder. I was like, he's not better than me. He's just been doing it longer.
Yeah.
And that's what I just kept telling myself. And so every night I'd come home, I would record all my presentations in the house, right? And then I would send them to my mentor and he would listen to them. He'd be like, stop saying this, say this, don't do this, do this. You know what I mean? And then I would listen to it myself and I'd be like, oh, I shouldn't have said this. I should have said this. And so it was just listening to recordings and just coaching myself, putting in that extra work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like watching tape.
Yeah.
It's
the 9 to 5 is the 9 to 5, but there's still a 6 to 10. Right. And so the game day is 9 to 5. And then after that's over, that's where the coaching and the learning comes in. So now at night, when I get home from work, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to get better at my sales presentation. I'm trying not to stutter. I'm trying to be smoother with my words. I'm trying to sound smarter than I am, you know?
I mean, you're a smart dude, man. You definitely figured it out. Like you definitely figured it out. I mean, some people, you know, some people are are more naturally gifted in this area than others, and vice versa. So it's like the fact that you really just put in the effort, you put in the work.
That's
Like,
it.
and the hard work pays off. If you could give any advice to these guys that are coming up, that are just starting in the UFC and want to fight, like, what would your biggest piece of advice be?
The biggest thing that I wish I did different was all that free time I had, the years I lived in California, the years I lived in Florida when I was just essentially living the college life with no education. I would have gotten education during that time. Like, go to the gym, train in the morning, but commit at least 2 or 3 hours every day to learning a skill. Whether, just some type of skill to make money,
Mm-hmm.
Because you're never going to have that much free time in your life again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you have that much downtime to where you can learn skills that are going to make you money in the future.
Yeah. And I mean,
and even if you do make it to the UFC and you're the next Mike Chandler and you make millions of dollars, if you were to apply skills during that time during your fighting, now when you get the millions of dollars, you learned real estate. You learned, Grant Cardone, multifamily real estate investing. Now, when you get all this money, you know what to do with it. So you don't have to worry about going broke, because you can invest your millions of dollars into apartment buildings and you can live off the cash flow, because you know what you're doing now. You know what I mean? You're not just like,
you're not getting hustled.
behind.
Like, there's a less of a chance of getting hustled. I mean, like, that's what happened with Johnny Hendricks, right? Like, he took a bunch of money and then he went to open up a bunch of steakhouses, and he had a bunch of people running it, didn't know what they were doing, and like lost it all.
Oh, did he?
Oh yeah, he lost it all, dude. He lost it all. That's what I think.
This was recently, like after he was fighting?
Yeah. Like, it was like, dude,
shit.
he like lost a bunch of money. I think they closed, like, they had to close the steakhouses and stuff. He put a ton of money into it.
Wow, that's
like,
unfortunate.
Yeah.
See, that's like the blind leading the blind. Clearly he didn't have the business plan and set. Like, he didn't know what he was doing, and he didn't know what he was doing enough to make sure that the people he knew he had in charge knew what they were doing.
Yeah. Did you get people, like, I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, so I don't want to take too much more, but I'm just, everything that you're saying, like, it's just like resonates so much. Like, did you have, once they started seeing you on TV, on the UFC, like, after all those years of saying, like, you're never going to make it, like, did you have people start coming out of the woodworks and being buddies?
Oh, so I'm glad you went there, because this was an important topic that I wanted to touch on that I had completely forgotten, and you just reminded me. So it's just like anything in life, right? Well, the biggest thing I've learned in the last 15 years, whether it's MMA or business or whatever, is kind of what you talked about, right? Everybody loves to love a winner, right? And what I mean by that is, like we talked about earlier, when I told everybody I was going to fight in the UFC, right? Like, maybe a couple of my closest friends, like, were supportive, and they were like, yeah, you're the man, you can do whatever you want. And maybe they really did believe that. I don't know. But maybe they were just saying that to be supportive. But the fact is, most people weren't, right? And that's anything. See, the thing is, when you try to level up in life, what I've learned, when you try to level up in life, whether that's going from a local amateur fighter to fighting the UFC to somebody who aspires to make millions of dollars and own businesses, the people in your circle have two choices. They can either level up with you, or they can get behind, right? And if they stay where they're at when you're moving forward, a lot of times they create envy, and it can create tension in the relationship, because they feel like if you're moving forward and you're doing what you're saying they're doing, and they're still in the same spot, they have to justify to themselves why they can't do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They come up with the excuses.
Right. And so that's where the excuses start. And it's all bullshit, right? At the end of the day, most of it's just a lack of work ethic is what it boils down to. But like, my mom was the worst. For example, like, my mom, I love my mom, but she's kind of a negative person, right? Like, overall, like people, we all have those family members or friends, right? And so it wasn't until I made it to the UFC and I cashed, $40,000 checks and $60,000 checks. All my friends and family, like, I knew you could do it. I knew you were going to make it and blah, blah, blah. Right. Bullshit. No, you fucking didn't. And none of y'all fucking believed in me. You only believe in me now because I made it.
Yeah.
So let's cut the bullshit. Right. That's the reality of how it works. But sure as shit, where were those people when I got cut from the UFC, when I got hurt, when I lost all that money I made, when I started going through the surgeries, when I was broke, when I was struggling, when I was fucking depressed and I can't get healthy enough to get back in the gym? What do you think they were saying then?
Yeah, it's like, oh, I knew it.
You should.
Scared.
I knew you should have. I knew you should have went to college. You should have got a job. You should have did this. You should have did that. So people love to love you when they're winning, and they love to tell you they told you so when you're losing, right?
Yeah.
And so the biggest thing I can tell people is, like, whatever you want to do in life, whether it's fighting or business or whatever you want to chase, like, don't fucking listen to anybody that doesn't support you. Like, if you have in your mind and your heart you want to do something, then you fucking do it, and you don't listen to what your brother says, what your friend says, your mom says, like, because most people, I'm not going to put him out there because I'm not whatever, I'm not going to just drop the name, but he's a very famous coach, and I had a coach one time, and he told me something, and he said, Matt, he said, the reality is 97% of the people on this planet are losers and only 3% are winners. Now, some people might think that's a harsh statement, and maybe it is, but the reality is it's true, because it doesn't matter if you're talking about athletics or business. 97% of people are losers, right? Because they will come up with an excuse or a reason as to why they can't win. And if anything, I hope my story motivates people to let them know that that's completely bullshit, because I wasn't an athlete in school, right? I fucking ashamed to admit it. I fucking smoked cigarettes in high school for 2 years, right? I didn't go to fucking college. I don't know anything about business. Like, but what I do know how to do is I know how to go to fucking work, and I know how to ask questions, and I know how to pick up a book and read it. And I know how to watch YouTube, and I know how to find information, right? And I was broke. I didn't have a business loan. I didn't have a rich dad to help me out. Like, I literally went from nothing to making over 6 figures a year all on my own, busting my ass.
Yeah.
And so the reality is most people with anything in life just have reasons and excuses why they can't accomplish it. And people close to them will always support them when they're winning and always turn on them when they start losing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
Right. Like, it's in my family. That was just the biggest thing with the fight career, man. It was, everybody loved to talk shit. And then when I made it on the Ultimate Fighter and I had some money, and then I was the man. Everybody, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. Right.
It's like, oh, my son's my son's in the UFC.
Yeah. And then you get hurt and you get cut, you lose some money, you start going down. Oh, I knew. See, fighting's dangerous. You should have went to college. You should have got a job. You should have did this. My mom did the same thing when I got into insurance, bro. I started telling her about how the insurance business worked. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm struggling. I'm spending $1,000 on leads every week. I'm getting my ass kicked, blah, blah, blah. What does my mom say? Well, you need to go get a job where you don't have to spend money every week.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, you ain't going to make any fucking money if you ain't working in high commission sales, because even if you make $50 an hour, there's only so many hours in a week you can work. You're only going to you'll never make $5,000 in a day. Even if you make $200 an hour, you can never make $500,000. You can never make $5,000 in a day, right? Yeah. It's impossible. But I've made $5,000 in a day selling life insurance multiple times.
Yeah. Multiple. Well, a lot of people don't understand that conversion. Like, when it clicked on me, and the funny part, one of the main reasons why I actually really got into watches is once I started really understanding the concept of what time really is. And when you get that time is money, it's like, that's why I wear a watch everywhere I go. Because I look at my time, it's like, dude, you wasted an hour of my fucking time. You wasted 20 minutes of my fucking time. Why? Like, I'm not getting those back. That's time that I could have gone Could have gone made money, could have gone training, could have gone spend time with my family. Like even sitting there, like if I get to go have fun with my dog for 30 minutes, that means more to me in my time than bullshitting with someone talking about like, oh, well, they don't want to do this, that, and the other. My life fucking sucks. Like, hey, your life sucks. That's on you. Like, cause you could have spent that time bitching about it, making it better.
And you'll always be able to make more money, right? You'll always be able to get money back, but you'll never be able to get time back. And so now that's another thing. As you get through this, you got to be more, you got to be careful where you spend your time and who you spend it with, right?
Yeah.
Because most people too, what I've realized, like, let's just say, like people hit me up all the time, like asking about like how to make more money or this and this. And it's like, if I gave them, most people, you could give them, like, it doesn't matter who it is. Like some famous guy could teach them a step-by-step blueprint to make $1 million in a year. And if they did it, it would work. But most people won't even do it. Yeah. It's crazy because there's no value in it, because there's no value in something you give somebody for free. Right. And so a lot of times, and that's another thing I had a mentor teach me. He was like, don't give people free information on specialized knowledge. And he's like, it's not even about you making money off it. It's for them. He's like, the money's not for you. It's for them. Right. Because if I tell you something, right, like if I say, hey, do this, and this, and you could make $5,000 off this watch, right? You'd be like, all right, cool. But there's no real value there. I mean, you know what I'm saying is valuable, but you're not invested in it. So
you didn't earn it.
It doesn't mean a whole lot to you, right? But if I was like, give me $1,000 and I'm going to teach you this and you're going to do this, and this, you're going to take way more action on the same thing I told you that you paid me $1,000 for if I told you the same thing and you didn't pay me anything, right? Because your money's in it now. You're investing it. You're like, damn, I spent $1,000 for Matt to tell me this and this. Shit, I better do what he says, right? Yeah. Because you know you spent your money on it, so you want to get that return back.
Yep.
But if I just give it to you for free, you're not going to do much with it.
Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah, no, it's funny.
And I found that to be true.
No, 100%, 100%. And it's funny because you mentioned it, because when I first started my business, there's people that we both know actually that like fucked me over pretty good. Because when I was starting up my marketing business, I was looking at it on the aspect of like, I want to be the honest person that helps somebody else like improve. And then they would go and they'd ask me all these questions and I'd give them that free information, no problem. Next thing I know, it's like, hey, fuck you. They're not answering my phone call anymore. They took my marketing strategy, decided to go and do it. Well, guess what? Like, it still failed for them because they didn't know how to do it. They just thought that it was going to be like plug and play, do it, and it's done. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
So it's like, you fucked me over, but at the end, you screwed yourself over. So it's like, now I know the kind of person that person is, and I know where to keep them. But it's like, you learn that lesson. Like, it's funny, like, was it the Batman movie when it's like the Joker? It's like, if you're good at something, you don't do it for free. Like, that's it. That's just the way that I look at it now, kind of thing. But dude, I took up enough of your time, man. I so appreciate this, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I'd love to do it again in a few months.
Dude, anytime you want, man. Just shoot me a message, man. We bullshit back and forth on Facebook all the time anyway. So, like, I almost got you that pillow fighting fight. So we almost had
put this out there. Anybody you know, I'll cut you in because there's plenty to go around. Anybody you know it's in the high-end watches, you send them to me, and any deal I do off them, I'll cut you in on the profit.
Yeah, I got you, dude. I'll hit you up because that is something that we got to talk it. But there's other stuff that I do that you probably don't know about. So for sure, that's something that we can get into for sure.
Yeah.
So I got you. I'll hit you up after. But guys, make sure you go give Matt a follow. Follow him on Twitter. Gutter MMA on Twitter. Matt VBB 757 and the MVB Luxury. Definitely go follow the MVB Luxury Instagram accounts. I'll have everything on the description for the YouTube channel and on Spotify. Matt, is there anything else you want to leave the people with?
No, that's it, man. Thanks for having me.
No, dude, thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Just work hard. That's it.
Dude, no, like I said, like the conversation that we had today, like resonated pretty heavy with me, like on a lot of stuff, and I'm sure there's gonna be questions afterwards like, fuck, I should have asked him this too. But dude,
We
thank
do
you
it.
so
We'll
much.
do it again, man, for sure.
Anytime, dude. Anytime. I'm sure now, like a couple of our mutual friends now are gonna see you like on camera. They're gonna like try and light you up now. You see, we'll get a DMs. Matt, dude, thank you so much, man. Have a great rest of the Sunday. Go get that paper, dude, and I'll catch up with you later on, man.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.
Take care, man. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Big thank you to Matt Van Buren for taking the time out of his busy schedule, making all that money, selling them watches, selling that insurance, to sit down with me on a Sunday afternoon, man, and kind of really open up. I honestly feel that Matt has not gotten the credit that he deserves, not only as a fighter, but obviously as a businessman. I think it's something that in the future, we should definitely see more from him as far as, business advice and overall life advice. So make sure you guys give him a follow. I'm definitely going to be picking his brain some more. I really loved a lot of the things that Matt had to say. And, even just as a fan of Matt from his fighting days, to hear how well he is doing now and knowing semi firsthand on like all the struggles that he went through. It's really cool. It's really cool to see. Like I said in the podcast, I had those conversations with him. Like when he was fighting, he was still, training and like in between sparring and stuff like that. I mean, I have photos of him sparring with, guys like Rumble, 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘊, all these amazing athletes and stuff. And, going through everything that he did, he was still fighting elite level fighters. But, it's stuff that the general public doesn't see that happens in the life of fighters. So I think it was a real good eye-opener for a lot of people. So I hope you enjoyed it. Also, I want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors, 𝗶𝗧𝘂𝘊𝘆 and Jiu-Jitsu SOAPCO. Guys, make sure you check out the promo codes down at the bottom of the screen, whether you're looking at us on YouTube or if you got us on Spotify. Go check out our sponsors. 𝗶𝗂𝘊𝘆 makes some of the best gear. They just did a pre-order for rash guards that benefit the police. And then Jiu-Jitsu SOAPCO is still the best soap. I don't care. I will trash talk any other jiu-jitsu based soap companies. Jiu-Jitsu SOAPCO is the best. There's not a single person that hasn't purchased one of our Jiu-Jitsu Radio collab bars that didn't enjoy it and wants it again. There's not a single person I ever heard say anything bad about Jiu-Jitsu SOAPCO products. So check them out. Big thank you to all of them for all the support, even in the last couple of months that the podcast is being dormant. I really, really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to check out my Twitch channel. We stream a couple of times a week. We do all sorts of different games, variety games. We'll watch some YouTube videos. We'll watch some fight videos, all sorts of stuff. It's a great community. Join the Discord channel for everything from video games to movies to memes to whatever. Check them all out. And with that being said, please, if you really enjoyed the podcast, hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell. It's a click for you, but it's big support for us to get you guys more content. I do have plans for a lot more stuff coming out, and we're back on the road with this thing. And don't forget to check out my band, Sons of a Tradesman. We got the album up on Spotify, iTunes, everywhere. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll catch you guys later.